Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Unplugged Woodworkers podcast. So I've literally just got back from home like a couple of days ago, so I haven't been up to a great deal, although I have got a few things planned. I don't know whether I'm going to get them kind of started. I'm hoping to, maybe tomorrow. I was going to make a start today on a chair. I've got a new design for a chair. And this is basically just going to consist of two boards glued together, and then I'm going to actually dovetail them. I did do something similar quite a few years ago, but that did include mortise and tenon joints, square mortise and tenon joints. So the idea with this one is that the material I'm using is really thin. I'm not even sure if it's going to work, but I am going to have a go. So basically the material is going to be, I think it's about like 21 millimeters thick. It's going to be made from oak, and I'm actually going to be putting a slight little saddle in it, and obviously for the backrest there's going to be a little bit of a curve as well, just to add to comfort. So on the seat portion, what I plan on doing is actually cutting some tapered sliding dovetails. So there's going to be two boards, sorry, not two boards, two buttons, two buttons. So I'm going to put those in, and what this is going to do, this is going to actually help to strengthen up the seat portion, just because obviously when I'm removing material to create like a little curve for your bum and your legs, just to make it a little bit more comfortable, I'm obviously weakening it, and plus I need some more material to make sure that I can get a decent bite or a decent amount of material, because I'm going to be using conical tenons on that as well. The underside I'm going to obviously put like a bit of a frame in, like, you know, stretchers, a couple of stretchers and then a middle stretcher, just to strengthen the thing up. There's a lot of ifs and buts about it, but I thought it would be fun to give it a go. As I said, I'm not overly sure it's going to work, just with the material being so thin. I would have all had, like, you know, somewhere in the region of 2 inches. I would have felt better with that, but I've decided to kind of use what I've got to hand, you know, and it should look quite good. In my head it should look quite good, or it does look quite good rather, just because it's going to be so thin. But as I said, like, keeping it so thin, it may create some problems. It's probably going to create some problems, so I don't know if I'm actually going to get away with using the buttons to take care of those problems. Only time will tell. So what impressed me, so this, I saved this a while ago and I totally forgot about it, and this was a reel off Instagram. I'll put it up on the screen, and it's actually a repair on a guitar, and I think we can all learn a lesson from this, because if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the actual pieces that he's inserting back into the guitar, and these pieces must be like in thickness, maybe 2 or 3 millimeters, if that. So, you know, we can all learn a lesson that, you know, sometimes no matter how damaged things can get, you know, with a little bit of patience, you can actually, you know, do a really good job. And I think, if I remember correctly, this is just one of the videos. Obviously he did do a number of videos, I believe. And I quite actually like the little gizmo he's using. I can't remember if it's this video or another video, but there's like kind of he's actually clamping the material, you know, on the let's say the vertical axis, and then he's just actually able to clamp it on the parallel axes, sorry. So that's quite a little clever clamp. I've seen a few of them recently, but other than like quite recently, I didn't actually know they existed. So it's quite a cool little clamp. A lot of patience in that. So I thought today I was going to talk about furniture around my house, and I thought this was quite interesting just to see how things are kind of holding up, or how furniture holds up. Unfortunately, I can't really say, you know, I've had this table for, you know, 20 years. Unfortunately, I might actually do a video in 20 years, who knows, or maybe 10 years. 10 years is probably going to be more realistic. But I think like some of the oldest furniture what I've built for myself for this house, like it's about maybe just coming up to 5 years, 4.5 years, 5 years old. It's coming up now. I have built furniture, you know, and it is old. I think some of the furniture I built for my mother is, some of it's like 10 years old, maybe older. So it would have probably been a better idea to go around to her house and take some pictures, but it was a last minute thing. I have been planning on doing something like this, but this was just like a last minute thing today. I thought I'm going to kind of do it today. So as I said, some of the older stuff is about 4.5, 5 years old. Obviously there's some furniture that I haven't included, the likes of my dining table, because I've just built it, so it hasn't really had a lot of, you know, time to basically get used enough, and see how the wood's reacting and whatever else. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about today, just, you know, how the wood's been reacting and stuff. So one of the first things I actually built for this house was very quickly built, and it was only supposed to be kind of like just like a bit of a temp. And I did actually like want to build like a chest of drawers, or maybe a floating TV like unity thing with drawers in, which I built for me. I built like something similar for my mum quite some years ago. But me being me, I've never really got round to it. So kind of just over that away, there's a bench, and for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'll stick a picture up on the screen. So this was like just designed to be like quick. I just wanted something quick and easy. Didn't look too bad, and as I said, it was just going to be a bit of a temporary stand for my TV. The TV, ironically, that I never switch on. I haven't switched the thing on. Can't even remember the last time I switched the thing on. I really don't watch TV, but it's there, housing my TV. So it's actually, it just sits there. It doesn't really, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't really get used per se. Obviously, it's there to serve a purpose. It's there to house a TV. So with everything today, I went up and I gave it a quick inspection, looked over a few things. So first thing I checked was the legs. Before I go any further, I should really describe the construction of it. So the construction of it, the top is 2 boards. They're not glued together. I deliberately left those unglued because I wanted to basically test it out and see how it would go, and I wanted it to be quick. So keeping the 2 boards together is actually a batten. The batten is the same thickness as the boards, and I think the boards were like about somewhere in the region of 21, 22, 23 millimeters. And I used some rose head nails. Basically went through and then, you know, just fixed it with the rose head nails. And then I drilled through for the legs, the same way what you would do with a Roman workbench or a chair, something like that. And I used, I think it was was it an inch and a quarter, maybe an inch and a half, so something like that. Yeah, I think it was something like that. Like maybe an inch and a quarter drill bits. These were round drill bits. Sorry, these were round mortise holes. They weren't conical. So as I said, the legs are perfectly fine. They're not loose, not shaky. They're solid as the day they went in. But as I said, bearing in mind, it's just had a teleplank on top of it and it doesn't get moved at all. Well, very rarely. Maybe if I want to take some pictures, if I've built something, I might like move it out of the way type of thing. But other than that, it doesn't really move. So obviously, the buttons underneath are totally fine. There's no shrinkage there, or none that I can see. Obviously, the nails are keeping everything together. Sometimes when you look at different pieces, whether it be even garden furniture, sometimes when you're using screws or nails, you can see like a gap where the wood's shrunk. So there's no signs of that. So where the two boards are together, when I actually built this, what I've done, I actually clamped these together, and got everything into place. Got the buttons into place. Obviously, I drilled and then obviously put the nails in. So the clamps didn't get taken off to the very last second. So obviously, when they were put together, when I took the clamps off, it was still a nice, tight fit. Looking at it before, obviously there'll be pictures on the screen for all of what I'm describing. Looking at it before, there was kind of maybe a millimeter, maybe 1.5 millimeter gap all the way down, which it isn't a big deal, and I did actually expect that to happen. So it's not really noticeable too much. Something else I've done as well, because I was kind of expecting this to happen, I actually, where the boards meet, instead of keeping them square, I actually put a chamfer along that edge, just to kind of highlight where, like, the boards, there is a joint there. I wanted to highlight it because, as I said, I did expect it to come apart. But in all fairness, it hasn't come apart as much as I thought it would, because I thought it would be more noticeable. And it's not really until you actually go up and start inspect the thing that you actually, you get to see this. Another thing as well, one of the boards has some warpage in it. Obviously, because you've got the two boards obviously meet together and they've got clamped together. So kind of one of them's lower than the other one. So it's created like a bit of a step. I think it's like somewhere in the region, it might, at the very tip of the end grain of the board, it's like 2 millimeters, and it's the same again until you're there on top of it examining it. You would never know it's there, but obviously I do know it's there now. But I mean, as the rest of it goes, it's totally fine. Even the center of it, I remember when I first built the bench itself, I was a little bit worried that there might be some bone in it over time with the weight. But as I'm looking at it now, where the weight's distributed from the TV, it's actually like pretty much on top of where the legs are. So obviously there's no weight going in the middle. If there was weight going in the middle, it might have been a different story. But as it is, it's totally fine. So sticking with that sort of construction, I'll put another picture up on the screen. There is a table, and this table is situated directly behind the camera, and it's pretty much the same construction. And this was built from brown oak. So something I forgot to mention, the TV bench that was built from European oak, and this table is built from brown oak. Now, that's the first time I used brown oak. Brown oak at least to me, it was a lot tougher than regular oak, and it's heavier. It's a lot heavier. So the construction's pretty much the same, and the idea behind that table was pretty much similar to that. What I wanted to do, I basically wanted to be able to make a coffee table in a day, or less than a day. I can't quite remember the time it took us. I'm pretty sure it was like less than a day. It might have been like somewhere in the region of like 8 hours. Some of you might consider that a working day. Each to their own on that, but I think that did include like painting the legs black, and obviously putting the finish on the top. So ironically, with this table, with it being the same sort of construction, there's actually no gap where the boards meet. There's actually no gap at all. One of the legs, however, I think it's the front, at least the front to me, as I'm looking at it, the front left, it felt a little slightly wobbly, ever so slightly. So I might have to actually take that leg out and re-wedge it. So if I remember correctly, I didn't use any glue at all on that, not even in the conical tenons, because this did have conical tenons. I did not use round tenons, and I basically just tried to make the conical tenons the best I could, stick them in, and then just wedge it. Kind of the same sort of thing as I forget. There's a type of chair. I can't remember the type of chair it is, but there's no glue involved in it. It's just like wedges. I want to say a Republican chair. I really can't think. I'm sure the guy that designed the chair, I want to say Ted Curtis. I could be very, very wrong. But anyway, as I said, there's no glue in that at all. Same again though, in all fairness, it doesn't really get like moved about a lot. You know, kind of, it's just there. It actually looks a bit odd in the room, because like I've got the coffee table in front of us, which is European oak. I've got the bench European oak. Over there, I've got a bookshelf which is European oak. I've got the last stick chair I built, which is European oak, and then I've got another chair over that side, which is European oak and elm, but that one kind of blends in. That's not too bad, but the that one, it just the table, it just kind of it sticks out a little bit. I think I had it up for sale a long time ago, and like nobody was interested, so it kind of got plugged there. So yeah, and next on my list is the Japanese blankets chest that I made for myself. So again, this was built with brown oak, simply because I had brown oak. I think I got the brown oak from the northeast of England woodworking show, I believe. It would have been was from British Hardwoods. I've been going down there for a few years now, and you know the guys are quite good, and you know they tend to give you a decent deal, you know, if you're buying a bit off them. So I built this blanket chest, and it was my first attempt at Japanese dovetails. And to be honest, I didn't actually do too bad of a job. So the chest itself is absolutely solid. It's like, I've spoke about this before. Honestly, you could put a car on top of it. Honestly, it's absolutely solid. It's one of the it's one of the most like firm like structures I've ever come across, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, it's hard to describe, you know. If you could imagine like a block of granite, and you know, you're pushed on a block of granite, and it's just so firm, and it's stout, it's like really solid. That's like kind of how I would describe it. Obviously it's not granite, but that's how I would describe it. Same again, it's as solid as the day I made it. The joints are absolutely phenomenal. Something I want to point out here as well, and I think I brought this up not so long ago. A lot of the time when I'm making blanket chests and whatnot, is what I'll tend to do is I'll tend to put some sort of batten. I'll either screw the batten, or in this particular case I used rose head nails. Went straight through the top, underneath, bent the tip of the rose head nails and hit them home. I forget the name of that. There's like it's a clasping. Is a clasping? I want to say clasping. Somebody correct us in the comments if I'm wrong here. So the point I want to make, and I've had people say this, and I've heard people saying this to other people, is that you shouldn't really do that. You know, that's what breadboard ends were invented for, and whatever else. But it tends they tend to be all right. I mean, examining that before, same again. There's no gap in between the batten and the lid itself. The lid itself is straight. There's no, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Maybe the wood didn't cup to start with, who knows? But what I do know is that lid is perfectly flat, and obviously the batten's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So it's the same sort of thing. What I'll do with screws, when I do put the batten on, I'll drill a hole, and then I'll move the drill backwards and forwards, or left to right, and this just basically allows for movements. And I've been doing things like this for quite a while now, and like I say, I've never had any problems. I've never had any comebacks from anybody. So, you know, it's a nice, quick, easy solution to it. I mean, don't get us wrong. I'm not going to do this forever, you know, and I won't do this with every single piece, you know. It's just as and when and as I see fit. But as I said, totally fine, not a problem with that. So another thing, I did actually build this a little bit later. I think I built this last year. Inside of the chest, I built a little. I don't know what you would class it as. Would you class it as like a till drawer? It's kind of, so that basically slides backwards and forwards. So the reason I actually built the case, or rather the chest, was just to hide t-shirts in. Yeah, I put t-shirts in it, shorts, and the little drawer that I made. That was just to house socks. So that was built from spruce, Japanese dovetails again. Like, these were slightly different. I didn't glue these at all, just put it together, put it on top of some ply, and just used a few panel pins just to fix it into position, and that pretty much just gets pulled to the left and to the right, you know, when I'm accessing shorts one side and getting t-shirts from the other side. So again, I was looking at that, and again, it's perfectly fine. Like I said, not glued at all, and you know, there's not really much more to say about that one. So next up is my bed. So there is quite a gap on some parts of the bed. So the construction of the bed, when I built the bed, it did seem like a good idea. This is the idea I had in my head. So I basically built built a square frame, or a rectangle frame to be more exact. This rectangle frame was constructed on the corners with dovetails, and then what I'd done, I got the legs, and the legs basically got housed in, and when the legs were housed into the frame itself, I then rounded over where the square portion of the corner of the dovetails were, so it was rounded off to go with the legs, because obviously I rounded the legs off. And the headboard, that was just mortise and tenon, and I used a drawer bore with that. So where the frame, the rectangle portion at the corner slots into the legs, on the back side, that's actually fixed in with screws. It's like maybe 6 screws, so I've got 3 screws going into the bottom of the bed, and then 3 screws going into the side of the bed, and that's like on all 4. Obviously this is in the inside, so you don't see the screws, but that's how I pretty much made the legs, obviously to stop them from moving out of place. The dovetails, they're not glued, obviously, because you do need to take it apart. It was a little bit disappointing when I did actually do the bed, because they got damaged a lot. So kind of looking at them before, you know, that it is a bit off-putting to see. It's such a shame, because the bed itself, you know, it's been totally fine. I haven't had any issues with it at all. But as I said, to look at the bed, so where the dovetails go in, and it's actually like housed, or maybe you could consider it as like a bit of a lap joint. So you've got long grain going to end grain, and I think there's like a gap. I think the gap's maybe somewhere in the region of like 3 millimeters. So it is quite a big gap, and it is quite noticeable, obviously, especially when you're like kind of inspecting the bed itself. So obviously there has been shrinkage in the rectangle section of the frame, so there's definitely been some shrinkage there. I mean, you've also got the downward pressure. You know, so there might be some compression there with the yoke. Obviously, I haven't taken the bed apart to see if that's, you know, kind of you know part of the problem, because when I was looking at it, I thought, wow, that's a lot. It's a real, you know, it's a lot. So as I said, I didn't take it apart, so I don't know. I mean, there probably will be some sort of compression there. I mean, because at the moment it's just me sleeping in it. Obviously in the past there's been 2 people sleeping in it, and then obviously you get your extra curriculum, shall we say. So, you know, there's forces at play with that sort of thing. So there probably is some sort of compression, you know, obviously making the gap bigger. But I mean, like structural wise, it hasn't affected it. I mean, you know, get into bed, you know, normally when I get into bed, I just kind of fall into bed, and it's solid. The bed's solid. There's no like, you know, like shaky, you know, there's none of that. It's stout. It's a nice stout bed. The headboard, there is same again. There is some gappage, and as I said, same again, and that's like end grain to long grain. So the bed posts, or the bed posts, or the legs, the head, you know, yeah, the bed posts, could call them bed posts. So the bed posts themselves, there would have been shrinkage there. I was kind of hoping that the drawer bore kind of would have kept everything tight, and it hasn't kept everything tight, which leads us to believe that I haven't done something correct. I haven't offset the hole enough. When I brought it all together, there didn't seem to be any problem, any gaps, but obviously there is gaps now. So I think I should have offset the hole a little bit more. Maybe that would have took care of it, because I say again, these aren't, the mortise and tenon joints aren't, they're not glued, they were just drawboard into position. And same again, it is like going left to right. When you like kind of give it a rock, it's solid. So it is, you know, it is still doing its thing, but obviously same again, when you're obviously examining it, you can see it. It's not a massive deal. I think it's like maybe a millimetre less than a millimetre, but it's one of those things I now know it's there. But kind of it's to be expected, because if you've got like a chunky leg, however wide the leg was, and you're going obviously long grain to end grain, you know, you should like kind of expect a little bit. But as I said, I was hoping the draw bore was going to sort that out, but obviously it didn't. So coffee table, this coffee table right in front of us, you just probably can't see it very well. Same again with everything, I'll be putting a picture up on the screen. So this isn't the first like coffee table like this style that I've built. How many of these have I built now? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 of these, I think. The first 2 I built, they were kind of built out of a necessity. Basically, my girlfriend at the time, she'd not long moved into a flat. They didn't have a room for a dining table, so I kind of had this in my head, this idea. So basically, I forget the dimensions of the first ones I made, but you could actually nest them. So there was 2 tables, they would nest together, and I believe it was our first Christmas together, or it might have been my second Christmas, first or second. So it was a nice Christmas. We cooked dinner and we had these tables, and basically the tables, when you turn them up on the end, so you've got the feet section pointing towards us, actually kind of like act as like a mini table where you can eat your food off or have a laptop on. So as I said, it was just like, it was pure necessity, you know, so we weren't eating it like literally off for laps, because as I said, didn't have the room for a dining table. She only had like a small flat. So that's kind of the same sort of thing with this, but obviously I kind of turn this over because it would be somewhere up here, you know, like over my head type of thing. But the reason I did keep the construction the same is because obviously with the construction was the same with the first ones. They just got used and abused. I mean, obviously sitting on them, standing on them, you know, after my dinner I would like literally just like, you know, rest my legs on them, you know, not with the 2 legs like onto the ground. It'd be like one leg, you know, in the table position, you know, the eating position, if you will, in a C shape position. That's probably a better way to describe it. Yeah, so I'd have my legs on there, so there was a lot of stress going on the dovetails, and that's the sole reason that I've built this the same, because I know it can take the strain. There's a lot of people when they do constructions with dovetails, they think that you should have like a box sort of thing, and that's how you get the strength. And I will agree with that. You get a lot of strength from that, but you can also get away with stuff like this. Same again, that's why I used that sort of construction with the dining table, breakfast boy sort of thing that I've just recently built. Although I did have to add some rails into that, obviously, because it's a lot taller than this. So obviously the taller you go, the more flimsy it's going to get and the more strain that's going to go onto the dovetails. But something the height of this, it's perfectly fine. And it's the same with this. This gets dragged about, this gets used on a regular basis. I'll sit on this sometimes when I'm putting my shoes on. I don't know why when I can just sit on the chair. Don't ask us why, but sometimes I do. Obviously, I sometimes stand on this for various reasons. Sometimes I might take it out of the kitchen, stand on it, and for whatever reason I need to stand on it for. And it's a stout little thing. It totally, you know, it's as solid as the day I made it. And I'll probably be doing some more sort of constructions, like, you know, tables in the future, just because it's dovetails are so strong. If you take your time and you do like a nice good fitting dovetail joint, my personal experience, you won't have any problems. You know, if you're going to do some sort of a construction like this, perfectly fine to do. Don't let anyone tell you differently. As I said, the taller you get, that's when you're going to run into problems. But something like this, I think this is kind of, what's this like? This is somewhere around the 500mm in height mark, maybe a little bit less. It's somewhere around there. I know it's definitely more than 400. I'm going to say 500-ish. Me personally, I wouldn't take it any more than 500. But if you are going to make something like this, probably what would be a better idea would be to make it shorter. If you do make it shorter in length, then you're going to be able to turn it on its end and use it like to house a laptop, or even like put drinks on, cup of tea, cup of coffee, or even eat your dinner off it, whatever you want. They're very good for that. So last up, there is other stuff I could have done, but I'm going to make this the last one because I don't want to drag this video out too much. So the last one is the last Welsh stick chair I made. So I have made 2 stick chairs. There's one kind of over there, but it's the same again. I don't think it's very fair for us to kind of be talking about the first one I made, because it just sits there. It just sits there, and it's basically home for my guitar. Whereas the last Welsh stick chair I made, that's kind of, it does get used. It doesn't get used on a regular basis, but it gets used enough for us to give it some merit, and to talk about it. So, you know, sometimes I may take it outside and sit on it outside during the summer, which it is now. And during the winter time, I will often pull it towards the log burner. Obviously get nice and cozy, get a couple of cushions on it, one for the back, one for the bum, and just get nice and warm. So it does get used. The legs are totally fine on it. Nothing loose here, feels very stout. And the backrest is great, no problems with that. And the armrest, obviously, on a like a kind of a Welsh stick chair, it's 3 parts. That's 3 parts. So you've got the two arches, and then you've got the arch on the top, and that makes one like horseshoe, if you will. So again, no problems there. There's been no failure on the glue. The backrest, that's still great. Just before I was flexing it, and that's kind of what it was designed to do. This is obviously not my idea. I can't even remember where I've seen this, probably Instagram, but obviously when you're sitting in the chair, you can turn to the left and turn to the right, and the spindles, what are the spindles? I think the spindles are like kind of, are they like ½ inch? I think they're like ½ inch, but kind of when you turn, the backrest actually like, it'll twist with you, which is quite cool. Again, this isn't my idea. I've seen this somewhere. By the sounds of it, I think it's something that's done regularly, you know, in kind of this like style of chair. But yeah, totally great, not a problem with it. The legs are conical tenons at the top. The seat is saddled. No splits in the seats or anything like that. It is all European oak that was kiln dried, so you know there was no green wood used in that. The underside does have stretchers in, has 3 stretchers and all, obviously 2 either side and then 1 in the middle. And I think it's a good thing to actually put stretchers in. I know Chris Schwartz, he kind of argues that you don't need to put stretchers in the bottom, and I do agree with him. Obviously when you are doing that, I do think you've got to use a thicker seat. I think the seat on that was somewhere in the region of maybe 2.5 inches, something like that. So I probably, for the rest of the chairs I'll make in my lifetime, you know, like similar chairs to this, I will most probably take the time to put the stretchers in, because the stretchers do add a lot of strength to the construction of the chair. Again, it's not like overly necessary, but I think for just taking that little bit extra time and putting the stretchers in, I think you're going to get more time out of the chair before you need to repair the chair, let's just say. But yeah, that's totally fine. And the other chair, I mean, the other chair is totally fine, but as I said, I can't really comment on it because it doesn't get used. It's just like, it just sits there, and my ukulele just sits on it. It's like my ukulele's home. So it wouldn't be fair to comment on it. So I think that's going to be it, guys, today. I've rather not enough. So any questions, don't be shy to send us an email, anything like that, or send us a message on Instagram. Also, if you want us to talk about something else, something specific, again, send us an email, leave us a comment on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. And until the next time, I shall see and speak to you guys later.